Welcome everyone to another episode of Coffee and Whiteboard Markers. I'm joined by my co-host Sean Brentnell.
Coffee.
I'm Miles O'Kane. I look forward to taking you along for the ride. Shawnee B, what do we got?
All right, who am I? Before my rap career took off, I was a volunteer firefighter in California.
Tupac.
No.
Okay.
I once had my own cooking show, and it was called Cooking with...
Martha Stewart.
No, that would be Snoop Dogg, wouldn't it?
Right.
Who am I? He loved reading and spent a lot of time in the library as a child.
Machiavelli?
I don't think he was a rapper. That's Tupac.
Okay, right.
He collected snow globes.
I don't know what a snow globe is. Is that where you're the upside down one?
Yeah, shake it and they fall.
There's no way this guy did all that.
Yeah,
I'm not sure who.
Well, maybe you should use your initiative and think about the...
He's on a reality TV show, Coolio.
Yes, correct.
Which is funny because that's the intro to the episode. Hey, Bud, what do we got today?
Today we're talking about burnout, which is the big buzz word around.
It's happening everywhere, isn't it, in teaching?
Yeah, I think so. So what is it?
Yep.
Why does it happen? What has been done to combat it? And how do you stop it from making teachers leave the profession, I suppose?
Do you reckon you gone through stages of burnout, or have you actually fully burned out?
I think we'll go through.
Okay.
Yes, I have actually. Yeah.
I think I have a couple of times.
There is they break it down into three categories and three contributing factors as to why you burn out and leave teaching. But I know that there are very few times when I haven't got one of the three happening in my world.
Yeah. Did you come into teaching that way?
No. I was pretty bloody carefree about everything.
And in the first couple of years even? What's happening then?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had it pretty bad my first couple of years.
I think that comes down to if you're not invested, like you're not going to be stressed. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like if you're
caring about your job and you're caring about your students'
performance if you know what you've got to do, then you're going to be stressed because you've got a to-do list of things that you're managing to get through, you know?
Yeah.
So the purpose is that there are multiple people, a lot of teachers coming in, doing the job for under 5 years and then leaving. So do you have any stories about that? Do you have any,
well, the stat I always heard when I was going through university was always first 1 in 3 in the first 3 years or 2 years. So 1 in 3 teachers in the first 2 years would walk off the job. And then by 5 years, 50%. Now, I mean, that was back in the mid-2000s.
Yeah.
But it's been a while. But I mean, we've had, in terms of recently, last couple of years, have been pre-service teachers that have started and said it's too much and sort of walked off before.
Oh, that's good. At least they haven't started.
Yeah. A school that we worked at together, there was a young teacher there who lasted for about a term and said, no, it's not for me. Had come from an engineering background.
Okay. So, and what was happening with them that you noticed before they...
I think the behaviour of students.
Yeah.
In terms of, so it was behaviour of students that was getting to him, but the actual teacher was a young guy and he was quite quiet and stuff. So he wasn't really talking about it. He sat on our side of the office, not your side of the office. So we tried to sort of get him out, just get him talking. And he sort of mentioned things here and there saying, yeah, it's getting a bit tough and stuff. And then just as the weeks went on, you see he's just sort of getting more and more.
And did his behaviour change? Like outside the classroom, or was he
more quiet?
Yeah.
He's probably quiet, definitely more quiet. He was rarely smiling. I mean, he wasn't the biggest smiler.
Yeah.
You usually going to get a bit of a laugh out of him.
Yeah.
There wasn't much engagement during recess and lunch.
Yeah.
And it gets to a point as a colleague as well, like you don't want to, you try, but you don't want to overstep your mark either.
And it's like if one of your mates is suffering real depression, they're going to mask it. They're not going to show what's going on and stuff like that. Yeah, so I have a similar story. This guy started at the school I'm at last year.
Yeah.
And he'd be there at 10 to 8, quarter to 8 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
And he's preparing his lessons and
printing
his stuff off, doing his worksheets, and he was onto it and asking you what you were doing for your classes for this particular thing, and he's got this to give you. And
it's a pretty bright and chirpy guy by nature.
Yeah, footy, like a surfer, footy dude, come in hungover on Mondays, that kind of thing, like he's a happy bloke.
Yeah.
And then he sort of just, he injured himself, hurt his toe, and then he, so I don't know if that was a factor, but then he just started becoming like more dishevelled, and he's like...
Was talking about stuff more? Was he, I can't remember, was he a whinger?
Not at all, no, he's a legend.
Like
He just started coming in a little bit later, and then leaving a bit earlier, and then
At the time, wasn't saying anything around it.
no, I think he mentioned it. Like this is getting like this class is tough and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But then by like the end of the second term, he quit. He's like, it's not for me. I spend too long here, and
Wow.
yeah, that kind of thing. So I don't know what the particular thing was. There's multiple factors, but he was burnt. Classic case of being burnt out, especially first year.
And that's on first year. So starting in the country, I definitely felt I was burning the candle at both ends. I think part of that's being away in the desert and stuff. But it's it's tough, man.
But like I was telling him, what are you doing here? So like it's time to go home. Go home, man. Relax. Like.
So what time was he staying to after school?
Well, I don't know because I was sleeping.
So yeah,
like he was there
before
the latest
8.
I would be there would probably be like 3:45 or something.
Right.
And he's still there.
He's still there.
So,
which is funny, isn't it? Because I had a pre-service teacher recently that was staying back till sort of 4:30 marking, and I know that's another colleague told me. And first thing I said when I got in the next day, I was like, mate, just you look after yourself first. Like, what needs to get done at school, get done at school.
Yep.
But me as a graduate would have been all doing that.
Yep.
You know, it's just different how you come around.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, as an aside, I think marking's okay kind of to stay back and do, because it's like you've got to do it. And if you take your marking home, then you've got to do it at home anyway.
Whereas you feel if you're staying back planning for a tough class or something, nothing's
happening.
But
as long as it's a predetermined amount of time, then you go home.
Yeah.
But there's nothing worse than getting home and having to have dinner or whatever, and then you got to get your bag out and get your marking out. And
I think teaching me like a 24/7 thing as well, if you let it, in terms of work. But then the thinking behind it and stuff, like, what's this? You had a bad class.
Well, I think burnout is because those people are committing a lot of their time to doing that, and then the things that they're planning and have in preparation aren't working the way they think they're going to.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not getting the results that they expect out of the planning.
Yep, and it feels like a cycle of madness, I imagine.
Oh, yes. So the actual definition that I looked up
of emotional exhaustion.
No, you've given it away.
Oh,
of
sorry.
burnout.
Sorry.
So the first factor is emotional exhaustion. So I guess it's symptoms. So
yes,
how you notice if you're becoming burnt out. So feeling completely drained, like your emotional reserves are empty.
Yeah, I think it's a feeling of being emotionally overextended and depleted. You might feel like you just don't have the energy or enthusiasm to face another day in the classroom. You park up in the morning, you're having that long walk down to the office or the classroom, just sort of think about the what ifs, what's going to happen.
I think that's not like everybody does that after a celebration or...
But when you go into that downward spiral where you feel the sort of exhaustion on the burnout starting to sort of flare up a bit, it just feels like it stings that bit deeper.
And this time of year is a time that happens, I think.
Yeah. The good one there is that you feel irritable and impatient as well.
Yeah.
Like I, these days, like to think I'm quite a patient person, but I can feel it when it does creep up. I'm like, this stuff, it's getting overwhelming now. Yeah.
And because it's been so long giving students second chances, and like if they behave poorly, then you get next day when they come in, you give them another chance, but that wears you down. And then
do you reckon you get a certain amount of patience each day? Like, is there a quota of patience?
Like a bandwidth?
I don't know. Like there'll be stuff at school like I'm incredibly patient with, and then my personal life, I'm like, how am I? Like 2 hours ago.
Patience also relies on you taking it seriously. Like some days, if you don't really care about the outcome and you're not sort of...
If you're invested,
you're not really invested in the class, so say they've got a test to do by themselves, you just go, well, get on with it. And you'll ignore it.
Right.
I think. But I've very rarely got to that where I'm struggling, like it's a drag to get to work day after day.
Yep.
But that's what we're talking about. So then there's depersonalization. So that essentially involves developing a negative or cynical attitude towards work, the students, the colleagues, the way it's structured, the woman in the canteen, the cleaner that comes in too early, clean your room, where you just everything's annoying you.
Yeah, so it's almost like you're emotionally distancing yourself, isn't it?
Yeah.
To cope. I guess detachment, uncaring, even callous at times, which is all sort of projections. It's not you as a person necessarily. It's just coming out of the stress you're under. I think, it can be really damaging both for you and your students. And I definitely know that with colleagues I've worked with over my entire career. You can see stuff starting to happen, or you have a sense of stuff starting to happen in their personal life.
Yeah.
when you see their teaching persona start to change.
Related to being rude to somebody.
Yep.
And I think this reduced sense of personal accomplishment. I've jumped in again. The depersonalisation, that's what it is when you just are less caring about what the damage that's being done by your your attitude, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think it's when
you're flippant about your responsibilities at work and your attitude and how it affects people.
What about, so I think we take it there and look at some factors, some overlying factors in the profession we look at. It's not just workload either. Like, I think people, don't get me wrong, workload, most things these days is pretty intense, especially in teaching. But another major contributor to burnout is going to be the lack of resources that many teachers face. I mean, I think most people know there's a teaching shortage throughout the nation and many places globally. You need to get good teachers back in the classroom. When you're facing a teacher shortage, it means, like, you can't get relief teachers necessarily, or you're going to be picking up internal reliefs.
Teaching as subject.
Teaching as subject.
Accepting.
You're trying to run intervention programs for mathematics to help lower ability students out, but then you can't have the education assistants available because they're stretched as well.
Quality of teachers.
Quality of teaching, because you're overloaded with everything, trying to sort of do band-aid effects here and there, and nothing's stable. You're not building on stable ground.
That's when you say resources, like, I often think textbooks and that kind of thing, like good classrooms, facilities, all those things as well, which I think has got much better in the last. Maybe it's a school I'm at, but the last few schools I'm at have good facilities. They have.
Yeah, the place I'm at now has actually got quite good funding for stuff, which is nice. But it'd be things, but even like, you buy new stuff and then you got to teach the kids how to use that stuff. But then you got to teach the teacher in the class how to, observe the students doing the wrong thing and what to sort of a massive learning process again, which takes time and effort.
Yeah, and that's resources. So I don't know. I don't know how to fix it. What have they tried to do to fix that? Let's say teaching shortages. What have they done?
I think they brought in scholarships for graduates and stuff to start with. I know. Do you have much to do with the Teach for Australia?
No.
Either do I. But I think it's basically trying to get
a pool to get.
Yeah, but so you've got like experienced professionals who come. I think there's a fast track into being straight in the classroom. I'm not sure, but so like for trying to get math teachers in at the moment, they're taken from the engineering fields instead of going through so many years at university. It's almost like you go straight into the classroom or have a bit of prep. Yeah,
that's RPLing in.
Okay.
If you want to get a cert 3 or 4 in something,
right,
you can recognise prior learning, and you get ticked off by an assessor,
and then you jump up higher.
Then you can take more instead of learning at the base level, you go straight to this level 4.
Right.
So you don't have to do a cert 1.
Right.
In whatever you're teaching.
Right. I mean, I know. So I look at when I left the country in 2009, like, that was tricky then. There wasn't many teachers coming to the country then. The reason I went to it was the main was you got permanency for 2 years in country service back in Perth at the time. But also I was younger for experience, but that was quite good. Where I'm not sure if that exists anymore.
Did you do that because your family? There's a couple of teachers in your family, and that was their.
Yeah, I mean, they came from Ireland. They in the Kimberley landed the first thing back in the 70s, and they loved it. So it's probably that part of that nostalgia as well. Yeah,
and I'm the same. My sister's a teacher as well, so that's what she did, and that's the way it was done.
Yeah.
In the 90s.
Yep.
And then I'm different, so I didn't go country because I think I kind of arrogantly thought I'd get a job in Perth.
Right.
Like, do you remember when we graduated, there were actual students that feared not having a position in Perth?
Absolutely.
And now that's not the case.
So my DPED, there was 60 students, 3 went country.
Yeah.
Me being one of them. Most, I think, got jobs.
That's that system the value of a position in Perth is not there anymore, is it?
No, it's not as vibrant as it used to. Not as used as it used to be. And even like, I said 2009, 10 when I was leaving, like, it was struggling. And then I was working in a place that was, in the Pilbara, that was well funded by other companies, iron ore there
grants
at the time.
And things like that.
Yeah, and that was struggling to get teachers in there.
And were the kids of parents that were living there and working there, or
a lot of mainly, and then so say it was 12,000 people. Half of them were fly out workers, and the students being there were from the people that worked on the mine.
So how do they were that there every day if their parents are fly out? Were they?
No, so the people living there, the ones based in Newman,
okay.
and then the other half of
Yep.
the population is the FIFO.
Yeah. So one of the other main things lately is diversifying a curriculum.
Yes.
So I don't even remember if my high school, I guess they must have been, classes were streamed.
Ours were.
Do you remember being aware of it when you're in year 10?
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
Like maybe I never thought about it, but it used to be there's 3 levels of class, isn't there, for each subject? There's a top class, a middle class, and a lower.
Basically, yeah.
Skill level class.
Yeah.
Now it's just more and more so.
They're going towards more mixed ability, aren't they, classes?
It doesn't matter who's in the class because your curriculum has to fit the exact.
Of every
it's almost
individual.
the individual student.
Yeah, like there's such a range.
And the pressure of that, how do you,
Yeah.
when that first started coming in, I was very against it. Like I was sort of going, I'm not doing analysing the whole class
for the extra workload. You feel unreasonable.
I thought it was unreasonable to try and fit in 4 different ways of teaching a topic.
Yeah.
So,
yep. And it is, and then that doing that over and over again can definitely feel like you're going crazy.
Yeah, and the more so now. But the best thing now is that they have software programs and things like that do it.
Yeah.
And you can...
There's companies out there more involved in that stuff in the education space.
Exactly. And they give you resources based on the gaps in knowledge and stuff like that. But now you don't have to... I think what you need to realise is that it's more about identifying students' weaknesses and telling their parents or letting everybody know where they're at and then focusing on what they don't know instead of freaking out that you're not helping.
Yeah, it can be tricky. I think there needs to be more consistency across all schools. Or like just have a consistent template of what you're doing. This is the way we'll approach it. This is how we'll notify parents. This is how we'll do our grading. Whereas now it seems like very much different schools do different things. And again, maybe it's just the schools we've worked at. But I think anything in teaching these days that gives back time to teachers is going to help with mental health.
Yeah,
and overall
that's
well-being.
The thing. If you had the time, you probably you're a teacher. You care about what they're doing.
Yeah,
but you just don't have.
No, and that's a thing that probably helped my mental well-being in teaching over the years has become almost super protective over my time.
Yeah,
and you learn to be more assertive with stuff and say no to stuff. But I don't. As far as I'm concerned, the pay is good, but you could pay me more money. And if you don't affect my time, or you do affect my time, that's going to frustrate me more.
What particular thing do you say no to?
I feel I get frustrated with people trying to do stuff if they haven't necessarily thought it, like as in a leadership position, if they haven't really thought stuff through. So they're just doing it as more of a band-aid
as a
whole
school-wide.
School.
Yeah, okay.
I think if you or I think there's 2 ways you approach it as a leader. Is that you talk it through step by step with people and talk about the what ifs and go, if this happens, you don't have to be credible planning, but at least you've thought it through.
Yeah.
Or you just do and lead by example. And as you go, like you'll F up and make mistakes as you're going through it. But it's more when people try to offload a whole task to you and have sort of wishy-washy expectations.
Yeah, okay.
And then you're kind of like, well, hold on, this is affecting a lot of people now, because who usually, in my opinion, who normally gets affected the most is the teachers in the classroom and then the students. And they're getting more work and it seems like there's more chaos. And that's no particular school I've had in the past. It just seems like it's consistent across schools I've worked at.
I also think that interdepartmentally, because often classes are streamed science, math, English, HAS.
Yep.
If someone from another department is having an issue with a certain kid and they want to organise some sort of intervention and they come up and want you to be involved in their plans or whatever let's say they're having a meeting or with the parent or whatever.
Yep.
That's not the same issue in your class, I don't feel like I should have to take more time out of my day to go to that meeting.
I think the approach there is the teacher is having problems to get into the class of doing well and just observe. And ask questions and stuff. Yeah. But there's no way I'm going into a parent meeting with that teacher.
No, not when I've got things to do.
And you don't get, not that pays the thing, but it's not your responsibility either. You're not getting paid for it.
Yep. There's a couple of other things. I think because of that, what do they call it? The individualisation of the programming?
Individual education program.
Yeah. So that kind of thing, I think, is definitely valuable, but it's going to kill you stress. Stress. Like, you've got no time to do that really.
Yeah.
If you
No.
But I think combining with like schools and sharing resources, like building programs that have assessments that are exactly the same.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know whether I'm just being more aware of it now, but it seems like it's happening more.
I think it's a great idea. 'Cause
Yes.
then if you've got one, then you could break down the whole year's work. So you're doing year 8 English
Yes.
and you're teaming up with a like school,
Yes.
and there's like 2 teachers at each school.
Yes.
Then you've only got to develop a semester worth
yeah,
of
and
work.
then, and all throughout the profession, teachers are saying protect our time. So
Yeah.
if we're working together, you can't imagine why teachers wouldn't get involved in that.
And that's a way that planning.
Yeah.
I'd say that finding 2 things: so teaming up with people that are in the similar situation as you, like outside schools, so you can share resources. I think that's probably actually a smart move.
Mm-hmm.
But at work, getting a mentor,
Yeah.
so somebody that you trust that is going to tell you when it's okay, go home, or like you look stressed, like.
I think, and I mentioned it before, I think I was lucky that my early teaching, I had 2 good mentors. So my first school I was at, the head of the department was really good.
Yeah.
And the second school I was at, the head of the department was really good. And they had been around for 20 years each at least.
Yeah.
And it gave me, whereas I think that can be very hit and miss these days with the teacher shortage and people hanging around teaching. And I think it can make a difference, especially those early years.
If you're searching for a mentor that is burnt out and not letting anyone know,
Yep.
then they're not going to help you.
Yep. And if you're really desperate, reach out here, team. We'll help you out.
Yeah.
My one to help or sort of minimise the chance of going into burnout is time management and organisation skills.
Yeah.
I think be able to, and again, like just setting those barriers on your time. Just if someone comes, you just think it through, like how much time's going to be involved, what's actually the purpose. And don't get me like I've taken stuff on to start which had great impact on the school.
Yeah.
But you just want to sort of, you don't want to get being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
That. And then it's organising yourself. Well, I do, I make sure before I leave most of the time at the moment, because I've taught for so long, I do my planning in my dot times. Mm-hmm. So I make sure that I'm into school and out of school pretty quickly. But while I'm at school, it's just all about school. Like I'm not saying teachers are, I'm not checking social media and stuff. And I'm eating lunch at my desk and stuff. I'm talking to people still, but it's more just sort of getting stuff done.
People coming up to you when you're eating lunch or planning your lessons and wasting time with chit chat.
We've got a whole new episode of
that. Yeah, well, I know.
A whole new
That's hard to avoid, hey.
Yeah, it is. That's a good segue.
So people can tell you about mental health and how to meditate and all those kind of things. You can look up that stuff. But I think Miles is correct if you're planning you plan the year as well, though. So know when the exams are, know when your marking load's going to be
the big
heavy.
events, exactly. Yeah. And that's, you can't buy experience.
Yeah.
A lot of us just got to go through it and just make mistakes and learn from it.
Yeah, and then prioritise. So if something's not important, like if you've done a year 8 class test.
Year 8s are always important.
Put it, they are. More important than year 7.
Oh, every student's equally important.
But if you are feeling burnt out as a new teacher, I would just sort of find little gaps in little areas where you can relieve your stress and get somebody to tell you that you're not crazy.
Yeah, exactly. My one's going to be support networks are big, not just teachers at school, but debrief with someone. Like we said, find stories where you can, try to laugh about it.
Yeah, lighthearted.
Then if you need the extra support, go find the professionals out there.
Yeah.
Like always, thanks for listening. We look forward to the next episode.